and then we see what happens?
Yeah, that works. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Hey, this is Steve, and I'll hang on to do the best I can to help out.
No.
We'll just see.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Yeah, whatever you can do.
Yeah, Stephen, if it splits, it's going to be you, me, and Dan sticking together, and it'll be Taco Cat and Mark doing what they can do on the hills. So it's okay if it splits. Yeah, it's okay if it splits.
Okay, I'll do the first minute.
Who got on here? Ian's a good guy.
Man, I'm feeling yesterday a lot more than I thought I would.
I have a larger group.
Hey. Powell. That's probably about all I got, guys. Hot bank will be it.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
This might be it for me, Taco.
No rings, thank you though.
I'll try. Just stay behind me. Taco really hard. These yahoos want to get in front of me.
Give us a suicide pool, Steve.
All right, that's it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, get on the wheel, boys. Easy street.
Thanks, fellas. Good time.
Still, I think Taco beat their earlier time by 2 minutes. I think you beat their earlier time by 1 minute, Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching the wrong clock. What's that? I was watching the wrong countdown clock.